There is a lot of information to digest in Nioh 3. From weapon stats to your character stats, choosing which ones to level up, how to scale weapons, how all this plays into your equipment, as well as encumbrance, it can be a bit daunting. Well, in this video today, I want to go over some secrets, quote unquote, and they're pretty obvious, they're right there in the game, regarding this system for those that are either brand new to the genre or to Nioh as a whole. The demo is currently out for the game, so you should be able to play around with a lot of what we talk about in this video, but I currently have an early access version of the game, so I'll be showing you how the system will operate when it goes live. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge of my videos. So with all that being said, let me give you the quick facts right here. Try and get all your stats to 10 as soon as possible. This is going to afford you a lot of comfort across key recovery rate, health, encumbrance, and having enough yin positions for your soul cores. The order you do that should roughly be in line with the weapon or weapons you use the most. For instance, if you want to dual wield the samurai katanas, focus on heart first, as that's the first stat for weapon scaling. On the note of weapon scaling, don't get too lost in the weeds on this. You don't need to adhere to the weapon scaling of any item because you can change it at the blacksmith once you have the proper materials. Using axes and focusing on magic, intellect, and skill, great. Swap them at the blacksmith and just don't worry about it. Lastly, all this can be respec'd for free at any time. Just go to the shrine and respec your stats. I think it's pressing R3 or L3 at the shrine. Furthermore, you can save entire loadouts, including gear and stat allocation in the preparation portion of the shrine. So I encourage you to play how you want. Try out different weapons and armor with different stats. Don't worry about tier lists, anything like that. Then reroll all those stats, which you find to a play style and weapon set that works best for you. Nioh 3 is far less rigid than this entire genre typically is, let alone previous Nioh titles, so have fun. But that's too long didn't watch this entire video. If that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down. I want to be respectful of your time. You can navigate ahead to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters about the timeline in the description. And if you are heading out and you found the video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. You can find a link to my Twitch below where I'll be doing a giveaway, or 2 giveaways. Oh, 4, I guess. I've got 4 keys to give away of Nioh 3 today and Thursday, starting at 10 a.m. or so Pacific Standard Time. But let's get started on the secrets to stats and weapon scaling in Nioh 3. Loading into the game, let's talk about stats. Now, there's a lot of complexity here, and I want to just kind of give you a primer here. Again, I'm assuming you've never played any of these style of games. You've never played any of the Soulsborne games, what have you. And what's important to know is that there's 2 things for these stats. One, that they sometimes have diminishing returns, meaning that over time, they will give you less of a value. Or they have a set of either odd or even numbers, or every 2 or every 3, that will give you different varying amounts. So let me give you 2 examples of these. So right now we have 9 skill. If I bring this up to 10 skill, you can see right here that it gave me 11 arts proficiency, 1 ranged attack, 2 melee, 1 ranged attack, and 11 ninjutsu. So this is my samurai, this is my ninja. Now those are going to scale, of course, according to the actual weapon. So just keep these things in mind, but I want to just at least bring this stuff up. And you also see that we got 10 life. Typically the breakpoints, and I don't know what they all are yet. I think they're at much larger numbers, but the first set of breakpoints seem to happen at 10, meaning once you put 10 points into a skill, into a stat, it will start to change the effects of what it gives you. So let's put 1 more point into this. Arts proficiency, rather than going up by 11, now went up by 10, as you can see right there. And our range attack, rather than going up by 1, went up by 2, so now it's at 3. And if I look at melee attack, it went up by 4. Range attack again went up by 2, and then ninjutsu power went up by 10. So these things, and this even tells us, skill affects your arts proficiency power and ninjutsu power. Arts proficiency is for samurai, ninjutsu is for ninjas. Our life, though, went up by 10. So this gives you an example of how sometimes these things will scale differently. Stamina, for example, here, this used to give me 10 life. Now it gives me 14. So some of these things will scale up, some will scale down. Again, I don't know what all those values are. Current encumbrance rate used to be 1.4, now it's 1.6 per point. So, and you'll probably hit a point where that means, like, let's just say at 30 points, this is now 0.8 or 0.4, just some sort of diminishing return on the value. So understand that first. Now, in addition to stats, let's just kind of quickly go through them from the top from the bottom, because I think understanding how those aspects work is very crucial to understanding where to invest points first. Constitution, as it says here, greatly increases your life. As you see, this gives us 30 life versus heart, which is only going to give us 10 life. Or skill, I think, give us 10 life. And I think strength will give them, most things will give you a lot of life, which is nice in this game. Like if you take, for example, like a Dark Souls game, you usually have to go into 1 or 2 stats, maybe 3, that will help with health. A lot of these help with health, but Constitution is the lion's share of your health, and oftentimes it'll also scale with specific weapons. Like I'm using a hammer, so that scales our melee attack. Next up is heart, and keep in mind too, the affected weapon types are all right here. So as we go through these little pictures are going to change, right? Anything that has a box around it, you currently have equipped. Anything that's filled in is something that is then affected by that stat. Now, it's kind of confusing because if I look at this Constitution for hammer, that's filled in, but so is strength, and I think stamina. Yeah, and stamina. But I don't know what I have to actually go look at an axe to see which one is first in line for the actual weapon scaling. We'll get to that in the next section. But into heart, we go up by 1 point here. You can see this increases our life, our key recovery rate. And it can also help out with ranged attacks depending on what your weapon is. Also can help out with weapon scaling, you know, like it says here though, affects key and key recovery. I'm not sure where the breakpoint is on this though, or where the diminishing returns is. 2 points still gives me 10. It's been the same amount since day one. Stamina here affects your life and your max equipment weight. I will have a whole section of this video dedicated to weight limit and current encumbrance rate. Current encumbrance rate. So you can jump ahead of that if you so wish. But encumbrance rate is either going to slow you down or speed you up, depending upon what that number is and the corresponding color. We want this to typically be a good value as per your playstyle. Some people like playing very heavy characters with high encumbrance so that they can just take and face tank tons of damage. Some like being very nimble, so they have this as low as possible. I like a good middle ground where that number stays green like that. So that's how stamina works. It's also going to affect your life as well, so keep that in mind. As we go over to strength here, this is going to increase life and key damage dealt. What is that? That is the blue bar underneath the enemy's health. So it's the likelihood of getting them closer and closer to being staggered, more or less. As you can see here, if we press this button, affects how much key damage attacks with melee weapons inflict upon enemies. Also, you know, some melee weapons are going to scale with this as well, as per every one of these stats. Skill here is going to affect your life, but mainly it's going to help out with your arts proficiency and your ninjutsu power, like we talked about before. Arts proficiency, remember, that's the thing when you build up that gauge on the right side of the screen, that if you're in samurai mode or if you're a ninja, it's the capacity for doing basically what is the new kind of pseudo magic is into ninjutsu nowadays. So it's a nice way to scale that. Now, these last two are pretty important because they scale a lot of things outside of this menu. Intellect is going to help out with your life, as you can see at the top right corner, but also helps out with key recovery speed, more so than heart. This is 2.2 versus the key recovery speed of 0.4. So just to kind of show you that very comparison. Also, it helps out with effect duration of any ailment that you apply to things. But an important thing about intellect is it's your ability to equip accessories. I almost said accessories. So if I come out of this screen really quick, we go over here, we go to equipment. All these are your accessories, and you'll see here that they're going to have a requirement for activation, and right in that column right there. Let's go back to that level up screen. Now, our last one here is magic. Now, amongst all these skills, I think this one is very important. Of course, it's going to give you life, but it's also going to give you Omnio magic power, which is important, but also mainly if we come, I don't know why I said it like that, like I'm like sports announcing something. We're going to go to our managed soul cores. The capacity for having more soul cores is afforded to you by the amount of magic stat you have. This is the default one that's always open. Then you get this one at, I believe it's either 6 or 8, and then this one at 10, then 15, 25, and 40. So to unlock more of these yin positions, to get more talismans, or to get more of the magic in this game, which is Thunderstorm Shot Talisman right there, you'll need to have more actual magic stat. So this does help you when you're not maybe specifically doing a magic build, but when you're doing builds outside of that. Now, there's one other thing I want to talk about too as it pertains to stats, and that is your item requirements and respecking. So coming back into this screen, we can take a look at our current stats. My current level is 28, and I have enough to go up to 30. At any point in the game, you can reset your stats. Now, I've heard that this is not present in the demo. People have not been able to find it, or maybe they just haven't tried to do it from this screen. You could only reset when you are in the level up screen. So you need to be at a shrine, go to level up screen, and you'll see the lower right-hand corner. This says reset right here. So 3 on a PC, or just press the left thumbstick down, and you'll see that it says just like this. So it just shows you all the negative numbers, resetting everything to its parent value. I have one more strength here because of a choice that I made during the narrative. So that's important to know. But before we do that, let me just kind of show you how this works. It doesn't reset everything to 0. It gives me basically a bank of points. As you can see down here, remaining stats 27. And I can put those points back in. So you can see, you know what? Before I respec, I was at 10. Well, let me just go to 8. I'm just using hypotheticals here. I was at 6 before. Well, let me go to 8. So now you can see exactly where you were and where you want to be. But before you really do this, you'll see something at the bottom here. Affects the effects of Nioh magic, but you'll see special effect requirements. What the hell does that mean? That is bound to you because of certain items you have equipped, or Nioh boxes, soul cores, whatever it is. You have things that require certain stats at certain values. So 6 to 7, I know I need 7 to just be manageable with the current items that I have equipped. I know I need 5, I'm good there. I know I need 9 for my ninjutsu. 6 here is fine. 8 here for my ninjutsu, ninja, and then 8 here for my ninja. So this will allow me to use all my current items that I have right now on my characters, and then I can allocate points as I need to. So just make sure you have that special effect requirement thing fulfilled at the bottom before you do any major respecking, because it is important. So are you sure you want to cancel these stats? Yes, I'm sure. So we're going to come back here, and my last little thing for the stats section, and it's a pretty cool one. No, it's an important one. I recommend you get all of these to 10, and you get them to 10 in the order of the scaling of the weapons that you prefer to use. You can change weapon scaling, and we'll talk about that in its own section next. But I, for example, am using lots of dual swords. Well, that's heart, and that's, I think, skill, and then magic. So I should get those skills to 10 first because they're going to help out with the scaling of my weapon. So get those to 10 first, and then focus on stuff like, I think magic, getting 10 to magic is very crucial because unlocking more of those yin slots is very good. Also, and this is just kind of like a general Soulsborne type of mentality, is getting the stat that increases your health up faster is very recommended, because this allows you to have more of a health pool, which allows for more margin for error while you are learning things. My last tip for this section is, if you are at a point like I'm at right now, I need 14,000 to level up, and now I've got 13,000 left after putting 2 points in, which leaves me 15,000 to level up. I can press the right thumbstick down, or 4 on the keyboard, and I can use all my spirit stones in possession, or the amount required for a level up. So you can use this mechanic to basically use the inventory items of spirit stones to get Amrita to get yourself up to a level if you need it. Now let's have a conversation about weapon scaling. What I want you to take a look at is any weapon that you want to use. It doesn't matter what it is. All weapons, even if they have different names, like take for example these dual Uchigatana versus these dual Uchigatana, they will share the same everything, for the exception of this special effects location. Anything with that little filled in symbol effect, that is set for all names with the same name. So everything else is the same. including, of course, the reference stat. Indicates which 3 core stats influence your attack. The stat with the highest value will affect it greatly, the next highest will affect it slightly, and the lowest will have a minimal effect. So the third thing in this list, it's going to go from left to right. Left affects the most, and then right affects the least. So let's go ahead and that's a V right there. We can see from my stats that I have a good amount of heart, so that gives me 11. It's going to scale the most in its damage. I can see too that I've got not the most intellect. That's weird. That should be a different symbol. I think that changed it. This is not a, I'm using an early access build, so this might be changed in production, but this is the symbol for intellect. It's the same thing right here. And then magic right there is 10. So the Uchigatana for the samurai and for the ninja both have different scaling stats. These are important to know so that you can kind of focus them as you see fit. As you can see, I don't have magic right here in this slot. It is now strength, which is a higher stat of mine. So this is how the weapon scaling works at first, but you can change these reference stats. So it's important just to know that your base stats then get fed into more damage from your reference stats, and then get even more damage from your familiarity. I'll talk about weapons in a whole different video, but that's the basis of the weapon scaling. Let's talk now about turning that on its head. Okay, so we've gone over to the Rift, the Eternal Rift, and we have the Blacksmith. Now, I don't know if this is unlocked in the demo. I apologize if it is not, but you'll get it very quickly after the demo location. And what you'll want here is the remodel capability. Remodel equipment with the plus values and change equipment's characteristics. We're going to go here and let's just go ahead and select this. So we can see this capability to change the reference stats. Take a look at the bottom here. You can see materials required. Those materials you're going to require from, or you're going to get from disassembling items. This is why I like to use the auto disassemble function in the settings. I have a whole video on settings linked in the upper right hand corner. I'll show you how to do that real quick after this. But select 3 core stats to reference. Referencing stats before remodeling are currently Constitution, Stamina, and then Strength in that order. Now, the new reference stats that you select will be applied in the order that you select them. So let's just say I just do this and I wanted intellect to be the first one. Well, I chose it last, so it's going to be last in that order. So just know that this is how you say, well, you know what, the whole time I've been really going hard in the paint on dual swords, and I've really realized that, you know, I just love the hammer way more. Well, I can quickly make these changes to my character by either re-rolling the stats on my character, but maybe I really like my stamina investment, my heart, whatever it is, I can just change the reference stats on the actual weapon I like to use to fit into the character that I currently have. So this, for example here, we know that Constitution, Strength, and Constitution, Stamina, and Strength are the base reference stats for this weapon, but my highest 3 right now are Heart, Stamina, and Magic. So I can take advantage of the ones that I'm investing in to change them in a way that makes sense. And you can see this over here. It is reflected right in that location. And you can see that this increases my attack. Let me show you another example here. I'll take my 3 lowest ones. We'll use Intellect first, and then Strength, and then Constitution. You can see it says 482. So my damage went down. Versus this, my damage goes up. Even if I were to take the base version of this, actually remove it all, Constitution, and we'll do Heart, Stamina, and Strength, which is basically we're replacing Constitution with Heart. We still get a pretty substantial increase to our damage. So if this all doesn't make sense, just kind of play around with these until you get to a number here that really kind of fits what you want. But this is how weapon scaling works in Nioh 3, and it is a much better system because you can play exactly how you want and have the weapon fit you, or you can fit into the weapons that you want, however you want to do it. Now, I had talked about this before we get into the next section. If you want to know how to turn on that capability to auto disassemble, you'll go to basic game settings. Then you'll go over here to, make sure you always pick stuff up, but then go to automatically dispose of excess equipment. I have it set to disassemble. Then it says auto disposal notification list. You can change this to simplified notifications if you want, but I have it set to list and to only do common items, because common items don't really they won't break into soul cores, they won't break into offerings, and they won't be sold for any of those that are worth value. Disassemble gives you actually quite a bit of materials. Then we come back to this shrine, and it pops this menu up immediately. See, upper left-hand corner, it says Disassemble, and it has things already selected, and it tells me how much obtainable materials we're going to be getting from all of that auto disassemble. I can also just choose to press back and not disassemble any of it. So when I come back into this, it'll have that same menu pop up on me again. So this is how you're going to be able to disassemble things quickly, so you've got all the needed materials for doing any kind of reforging of those weapon scales. So stamina is a big part of any of these games, and they just control so much about your character. My character looks pretty damn cool right now, right? A lot of really awesome armor on, but I'm not moving too quickly. In fact, I'm kind of damn slow, and I've actually have quite a bit of stamina. So what does this mean? Why can I not look like a badass? Well, you need to get more stamina for one, but it's all about playing with the relative weight of armor in this game. Now, typically games of this genre are pretty generic in the sense that, hey, this is this armor piece, like the Crimson Knight armor set. It has a very specific value for everything. In this game, you have a bunch of different armor pieces that you then mix and match, which again, you can do in previous games, but you have just a big loot system in this game to take a look at. So I'm wearing, oh, I meant to put these on too, but let's see. There we go. Now we got a real good indicator of how slow we are. And you can see too, what this means is at the bottom, you can look how we're at 1,000 total key. I'm gonna go ahead and roll. That took almost 30% of my key, went to 793. Well, about 20 or so, right? 25, we'll just call it whatever. But how does this all get factored? So we have this value up here, our equipment weight, and then we have these values right here. Every single piece of armor will have 1, 2, or 3 of these little dumb weights. And those dumb weights are indication of the actual heaviness of the item. So this, the Warrior of the East set is a super heavy set. And this is then reflected up here. Our equipment weight, you can see it's 32 out of 35 total allotted because of our, I'm sorry, what's it called? So our stamina. And we want to make sure that we are maybe trying to, let's see if we can get, I don't think I can actually get this above the value into the red. But we want to make sure that we're at least at bare minimum below this number, because this is then going to dictate quite a bit. I think if I press this button, it'll tell us exactly how that, okay, I thought it would show the game's description of all that stuff. But it affects your agility, it affects the amount of ki that is drained, it affects how much ki is going to cost you to dodge, everything. So it's pretty crucial to try to stay at a point that fits the playstyle. If you want it that high, you better be building into stuff that makes it so that you take less damage, or you're helping out with your ki pulses or stamina recovery. You're doing stuff that makes it so that you can actually, there are some armor pieces that will say, you do more damage when you are dealt damage. And that's a whole way you can play. So there is that capability. Now, conversely, we can go ahead and we can sort this. We'll sort this by weight. We'll jump to the top. And this is going to show us, you can see that right now, that's a medium armor piece, so that has 2 of the dumb weighters. And this is a dumb weights. This is a light armor piece, all the way down to the training robe, which is still light. But let's go ahead and just kind of swap here into just the lightest armor to show you that difference in the stamina and everything. So now you can see that it turns all the way to blue. So you get blue, green, then like an orange, and then eventually a red. But that is going to put us all the way at the bottom. So we're now going to take substantially more damage. As you can see, our toughness stat is way low at 59. So that's your trade-off. You're either going to wear way more armor and get better defense, better toughness, better resistances, damage reductions, whatever it is, and you're going to go slower and suffer in stamina, or you're going to be super nimble. Take a look at that. 1050, one roll put us to 875. So being all the way over max, it's 875 versus 793. So it's what, 70 plus another 7, so, or 75 plus another 7. So, God, dude, 84. My brain is crap. Drink more caffeine. So you can see too, my character runs faster. He jumps a little bit higher. I don't think the jump actually is affected, but in general, you are just far more nimble as a character. So I think blue is a very specific play style, and then orange is a very specific play style. I like to hang out pretty much the entire time in green. Green is kind of where I want to be. It fits my playstyle. It fits the way I've kind of built out my characters. And I'm going to go ahead and put all that on really quick. I always sort this by level. There we go. There we go. There we go. And there we go. So you can see in my set, I have mix and match things. I said, okay, I want some good defense. So I've got 3 heavy armor pieces on. Right? And then I was like, okay, well, I have to balance that out so I stay below my threshold. Cool. I get it right there, and I get it right there. If I jump up just to, I think it's just 70 is when you start to bleed into the orange up there, as you can see. And every single piece too, it's like, it's kind of having trade-offs, right? Like I know that chess pieces are the highest in weight item, more or less, and that the gauntlets are much lower, right? So heavy gauntlets here are 5.0 versus a chess piece that's heavy is 10.0. And that's just, these are just these versions. There's every single item has different varying weights and everything like that. But the classification for those two, you can see the difference. Even taking a look at the legs, this is 7.5, 7.5. So this shows you, okay, well, I've got a heavy headpiece on, I've got a heavy chest piece on, and I've got heavy legs. So I'm going to need to wear light here to kind of balance that out until my actual stamina stat gets better. Then you can play with heavier armor, different kind of setups, all sorts of things. So we've talked about all this, and this of course applies just the same over here to Ninja. Just kind of however you want to do it, you have the same exact system that is applied here. I find it to be a little bit harder to max out your Ninja's weight, because I don't think I've seen any heavy armor pieces for Ninja yet. I think they're all light and medium. Please take that with a grain of salt, as I have not hit the max level of the game. Perhaps they are there, but it seems to be way harder to do that with a Ninja. It's just kind of the same system though all the way around. So we talked about that. And of course too, like I said, just to kind of drive this point home real quick, your attacks themselves also change as far as how much ki is generated and how fast they are, the more or the less or the more or less stamina that you have. Blue, green, orange in fast, normal, slow attack speed patterns and what have you. So just kind of know those things when it comes to stamina. Let me give you one last thing when it comes to your stats to really help streamline this process. To close our video out, let's talk about auto equip, because that's going to streamline a lot of what you've learned now. So I put on just a bunch of crap level, low level gear, and you can see on my character that I've got these little exclamation points. That means I've picked up items that are new. Well, when there's little up chevrons, little up arrows right next to those exclamation points, it means that not only do I have new items, but I have new items that are better than what I'm currently equipping. So remember we talked about equipment weight, right? And how green is where I like to stay personally for my play style, but you play how you want. We have this feature down here called auto equip. Now it's 4 on a keyboard, on a thumbstick, or I'm sorry, on a controller, it's the right thumbstick. So we're going to go ahead and press right thumbstick. And we have this option. Now, if you do not have this on the demo, don't worry, it's coming with the full release of the game. If you're watching this after the fact, you won't have to worry about that. But I've heard this is not present on the demo. You've got those 3 tiers we talked about. You've got the blue, which is A, green, which is B, and what I thought was orange, which is clearly yellow on this screen up there, it looked more like orange. Agility here is C. So I like to play with B. So let's go ahead and go B. So this took and mismatched everything the way that it wanted to get me to a B equipment rate that would keep me playing how I like to play with the items that are most optimized for what you currently have equipped and set up. This only applies to your what's it called? Your primary weapon and your, I'm sorry, I'm trying to show you here. There we go. Auto equip, B or above. So you can see what it'll do here is it'll keep your classification of weapon you've selected, but it only applies to your armor when it comes to just wild assortment of options here. So if I switch this, let's just say to the Palisade Breaker, which is a different hammer, and we'll switch this to a matchlock, and then we press this button again to B or above. See, this gave me the best hammer that I have equipped, and this gave me the best matchlock that I have equipped. Just to kind of give you one more example here, just a generic longbow. Let's go down to bottom level. Let's go to a spear. We'll press it again, and this now gives me the best spear I've got and the best longbow that I've got. So know that for weapons, this applies. You just have to choose the weapon that you like. The game won't force you into it. And also I think too, this will then reflect your choice of weapons and your choice of certain other things that you might have. Now, in the beginning of the game, this is not going to mean a whole ton because you can't really do Spirit Force bonus, enemy electrified. Unless you've really focused on that somehow, you won't be able to take much advantage of it. Or let me see if there's anything, damage over time taken, or damage taken over time. That's fine, that's fine. Sometimes it'll say stuff like you'll do more damage to things that are hit with lightning damage. That's going to be something on my ninja, which I do have, life drain on lightning damage. It will apply it if it can. So it will take a look at what you've got. It's smart enough to know what you, hey, I see you have Thunderstorm Shot Talisman. Well, we'll give you something here that'll help out with whatever that stat is that can affect it. So the auto equip is pretty good. So if you're bogged down by how stats work, you're really like bogged down with managing all the armor in your inventory, just do auto equip. Just do auto equip until the end of the game or your new game plus when you're actually working towards a build where auto equip is not going to be as advantageous because maybe you're going to start using things specifically for specific builds or specific equipment sets and everything like that. And just to kind of quickly say one last thing about that, and just because I said equipment sets, and this will be in its own video too, but to let you know, you can come over here and you can go over to preparations, manage equipment sets, and make your own equipment sets. So everything of what we just said across your stats, everything can be kind of created into its own set so you can quickly swap to and from all those things. And as we close our video out here, the last thing I want to show you is just basically the screen that shows you pretty much everything that you've done so far. You can access this by going to your equipment, pressing Y on the controller, or let's see what it is. I think actually it's just control, isn't it? Yeah, it's just control on a keyboard. It says status in the lower right corner there. And this gives us all of our basic information of our Amrita, our gold, our skill capacity, all of our stats, but detailed information about everything that we would want to see as far as that goes. But the big one here is special effects. So any of those special effects that you generated from your items, they then go into this thing broken into the respective category. So if you've been looking at an item and it says this is in the damage dealt category, well, here it goes right there. It's in the damage dealt category, or this is in like the key recovery category, or key reduction. There you go. Or yeah, here's key recovery, Spirit Force category. So that's what it means when it says in that category. It's referring to it in this special effects section. So you can see, oh, okay, what you can even look at the actual individual ones if you want. So, hey, here's all these status effects and whatnot. And you can just kind of drill down a little bit easier on what's the most. Like, let me look it through this really quick. I've got 20% medicine efficacy. Cool, sick. 8% elixir drop rate's pretty high. Did I say 20%? No, that's 20%. I almost thought I said 200. 11% martial arts damage. Okay, cool. I should be maybe stacking martial arts stuff. So you can use this screen to help give you context clues on how to build out your equipment. So hopefully this gives you a better idea on how to navigate your stats, your equipment, everything in the game. Everything derives from your stats. It's just kind of a typical thing of this entire genre. And it's very different in Nioh 3, even more so than it has been in the previous Nioh titles. So this is a great way to be able to swing into specific stats, weapon scaling, and equipment that all make sense for you and the way that you want to play. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. If you have any comments or recommendations, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one and take care.